Welcome to the last assembly video for the MakerLibre Kossel Mini Explorer version. In this video, what we're going to do is describe how to do the final electronics wiring, and that will allow you to then move on to the calibration and finally the printing phases. So the very first thing that you need to decide when you are going to do the wiring is what the front of your printer is. So in this case, what you'll see is that the electronics are mounted over on the right side. I like to have my electronics in the back. So that means that either this could be the front, or this could be the front. Either is acceptable. But today, I'm actually going to choose to make this a right-handed printer. So this will be my front. Now, the ramps boards and the X5 boards and even the firmware know about 3 axes, X, Y, and Z, right? But for a Delta printer, those don't have meanings, but we still need to map them into the plugs and understand what's what inside the firmware. So when you're looking at the front of your printer, the front left is going to be X, the front right is going to be Y, and the back is going to be Z. Always remember that. And what I would suggest is if you could label these, boom, 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 then that'll be a little bit easier for you later on when you want to know what's plugged into what and things like that. Now, there are 2 components that are important for the X, Y, and Z axes. The first one is the motor, and then the second one is the end stop. Now, what I've done for the end stop here is I've wired it and I've taken it around the back and I've taken it through this groove, and this is just cable management type of stuff. This isn't actually a requirement, but I like to do a nice job of wire management. And all 3 of the end stop wires run the same way, go underneath, and then have been run through on the other side, and then are plugged in here. So the X motor is plugged in over here where it says X. There's an X marking on the board. The Y motor is plugged in where there's a Y marking, and the Z motor is plugged in where there's a Z wiring. Now for the end stops, they go here. There are 6 spots for the end stops. Boom, 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 boom. And what we want to do, if you look in the middle, it's X minus X plus, Y minus Y plus, Z minus Z plus are the markings on the board. And what we're going to actually use are the X plus, the Y plus, and the Z plus areas. So we'll plug them in so that the X is plugged into the far left when you're looking at it from this perspective, the far left and the middle, and then the Y is plugged into the far left and the middle, and the Z is plugged into the far left and the middle, X plus, Y plus, Z plus. Right. Finally, we can move on to the extruder and the hot end assembly. Now the extruder and hot end assembly has 3 components. We have the extruder motor here. We've got the hot end heater, which is here, and we've got the thermistor, which is the temperature sensor. Now I've got some wire management going on here so that wires are collected nicely, but the extruder, the air tripper extruder, plugs into this spot, and there's a blank if you want to add an extruder later. And then the hot end is plugged in here to D8, and then finally the thermistor plugs in onto the motherboard at the spot labeled T0 here. Now there's no polarity for the end stop switches. There's no polarity for the thermistor. It's a simple, in this case, a switch, and in this case, you can think of it as a resistor. And in the case of the hot end, it's also no polarity. You can swap the wires because the heater is in itself just a resistor. Now, because this is a plug-and-play kit, you are completely wired, and you're ready to move on to calibration. Thank you very much.